Welcome to CanCham's Hong Kong and HKCBA's 8th Annual Transpacific Entrepreneurial Virtual Conference. This is session number 5, the roadmap to new innovation, ventures, and new opportunities, a snapshot of Hong Kong's latest developments. During the session, if you would like to submit questions or comments via the chat box, please feel free to do so. We will do our best to answer all your questions now or after the conference. My name is Francis Poon, and I'm with the Hong Kong Science Park, leading promotions and community development for our incubation and acceleration programs. I'm also the co-chair of the Innovation Committee of CanCham Hong Kong. We are talking about new ventures today, and we have teed up a fantastic group of subject matter experts. Joining us from Toronto is Mr. Chris Chen, who is the head of investment promotions at Invest Hong Kong, a department of Hong Kong government's external trade office. In Hong Kong, we have Ms. Kiki Wang, who is the head of Incubation and Acceleration Program at the Hong Kong Science Park, and Mr. Minh, Chief Resources Officer at Animoca Brands. Welcome to you all. Well, we do have a wide range of content to cover, from government outlook to tech entrepreneurship and the metaverse. So to start, I'd like to ask each of you to do a brief introduction of yourself and what you do in your organization. Chris, if you would.
Thanks, Francis. Thank you, Francis. I'm honored to be here today, representing Invest HK and the Hong Kong Economic Trade Office. As Francis may have mentioned, I'm head of investment promotions for Invest HK Canada, leading the foreign direct investment initiatives for the Hong Kong government. What this specifically means is that we help Canadian companies set up in Hong Kong or in the Greater Bay Area and expand their businesses once they've actually established a foothold here. We don't do this alone. We work with a number of other organizations in Canada as well as in Hong Kong, and I'd like to name them as the HKTDC, the Trade Development Corporation, the Trade Commissioner Service of Global Affairs Canada, as well as local partners in Hong Kong such as HKSTP, ASTRI, and so on. And I'm more than happy to take any questions as we go along in this seminar. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chris. Next, I'd like to invite Kiki to share about Hong Kong Science Park and our incubation and acceleration programs. Kiki?
Yeah, thanks, Francis. Hi, everyone. This is Kiki Wang from Hong Kong Science Park, HKSTP. My team runs various startup support programs here to support over 500 startups from ideation stage to growth and expansion stage. At Hong Kong Science Park, entrepreneurs from Hong Kong and from the world can enjoy our all-rounded support throughout the whole entrepreneurial journey, including office and lab facilities, training, mentorship and coaching, connections to customers, partners, investors, and cross-border expansion support, you name it, anything that you need throughout the whole journey. Our mission is to enable the best entrepreneurs from the world to realize their entrepreneurial dreams and to transform our future with great innovations. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiki. And I believe you have a short video to share with us as well. So let's just click over to that.
In Hong Kong, we live and breathe ingenuity. Nothing can hold us back. We build this city not just on height and ambition, but also on a future we envision. If we can't go out, we go up. And if we can't go up, we find a way through. We grow business, and we also grow life. We don't just embrace culture, we experience it in a new light. Here we're always innovating, not only for Hong Kong, but also for the Greater Bay Area and for the world. We've been propelling success for 20 years, and the best is yet to come. Innovation starts here.
Thank you for that. And Animoca Brands, may I call you the Tesla of Web3/Metaverse, or even that may be an understatement. No introduction is needed for the degen or the crypto crowd, but for our mainstream audience, business audience here, please share a little bit more about what Animoca is all about. Minh?
Thanks, Francis. So Animoca Brands is a company that's looking to empower people around the globe to build digital equity and property rights via the building of the metaverse and the digital economy. And at the moment, we're primarily a gaming company, but we're definitely looking to expand beyond gaming into different verticals in future. And we have a very ambitious roadmap, which we're very excited about. And I guess what makes us similar to Tesla is that, like Elon Musk, Yatsil, our founder, is looking to drive adoption, right? He's really looking to do this to drive the growth of the ecosystem. And so what I do at Animoca Brands is I'm responsible for all of the business transformation and resourcing here. Animoca Brands has been through a huge amount of growth over the past few years, and we're really just trying to catch up from a capacity and infrastructure perspective. And so that's what I do here.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Minh. Looking forward to getting much more information on that as well as we go through into the session. Let's first talk about Hong Kong in general from macro perspective. Managing uncertainty is very much part of the game with entrepreneurs and new ventures, but we are experiencing one of the toughest, if not the toughest time in Hong Kong. Chris, I'll call on you first. What's your take and the Hong Kong government's position for the venture space right now?
Thank you, Francis. Well, that's probably the question of the year, isn't it? This is, without doubt, probably the most challenging time Hong Kong has gone through, as far as I know, from the last 30, 40 years. But it's not the apocalypse. Let's just put it that way. I mean, Hong Kong is actually in a great shape in terms of positioning. Hong Kong is the gateway to the Greater Bay Area. It is ranked number 3 in the world in terms of financial capital, meaning there are a number of opportunities that are still available here in Hong Kong, so long as people are looking for it. So if you think about it, Hong Kong's position for the venture space is that investment is the strategy. Investment in technology has taken shape in the form of the Innovation Technology Commission and the Innovation Technology Fund, meaning that the government is taking innovations quite seriously. You could see this taking shape in things such as like the matching fund, whereas if one of the stewards of venture capital put forward by the Hong Kong company is invested, the Hong Kong government will match that for the company that receives the investment. Since late last year, there have been a number of policy addresses that have been specifically leveraged to increase the number of new technology companies here in Hong Kong. There are a number of new fintech sandboxes. There are proof of concept initiatives, and there are also hiring initiatives that are available for startups, whether you're in the financial services space or the fintech space or in the IT space. So right now, Hong Kong does take venture space very seriously. There are a number of investments being put forward by the Hong Kong government, but in reality, that pales in comparison to the private sector. And it's really the private sector where Hong Kong shines. When we receive inquiries about the Hong Kong startup or technology ecosystem, first thing people ask is, how's the market capitalization? How do I get access to venture capital or private equity? And honestly, those conversations are never stopping.
Nice. Okay, something I think would resonate with us is, when we went virtual with our open days, our monthly open days, we actually saw more people coming in inquiring about our programs. In fact, in January, we had 17 countries from around the world dial in to find out more. So we actually had a pickup of interest. So I think there is that mainstay of what Hong Kong's about to really excite people to continue to look at us from that aspect.
Sorry, I just wanted to add. Actually, I think it's quite important that it is no secret that it is difficult to get into Hong Kong right now, and the local ecosystem, the Hong Kong ecosystem, has adapted to these times by allowing companies to virtually enter Hong Kong without actually having to be in Hong Kong. And there are specific initiatives that I can cite. One is the Global Fast Track program, whereas if you're a company that's overseas and you're interested in Hong Kong, but putting it bluntly, you're not keen on getting on an airplane and going over there, you can actually apply for a matching program with a brand champion within the fintech space who will actually act as a handholder, a steward to get you into Hong Kong. I believe that HKSTP has collaborated with management consultancy. I believe it was Accenture to conduct a very similar initiative. I think it was called the Finovation Initiative that acted very similarly to the Global Fast Track program. And on behalf of the Hong Kong government, we're very encouraged to see programs like this that actually reflect the reality of the current situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Chris. And Kiki, we'll deep dive into Science Park a little later, but on the macro challenges, would you mind sharing how that's playing out at the Science Park?
Yeah, of course. Just as Chris just mentioned, Hong Kong is experiencing a very challenging time. And actually, we all know that Hong Kong has experienced a lot of challenges in the past few years. Yeah, that's very true. But at the same time, we're also pleased to see that the startup community in Hong Kong is still growing, even during all those challenging times. We see that the number of startups in our programs has more than doubled in the past 5 years. I remember that in 2017, we only had around 250 companies from all the programs, and now we're close to 600. So the entrepreneurial spirit never stops in Hong Kong, which is a very good thing. And I think Hong Kong is truly an international city that attracts a lot of talents and capital into the town. And people think this is a place to make things happen. That's why we still see a fast growth of the startup community here locally. A lot of entrepreneurs from the world, from outside of Hong Kong, and just as Chris just mentioned, that we have figured out some pragmatic way to enable a virtual participation in the ecosystem in Hong Kong. So that is Hong Kong spirit, pragmatism and agility is in Hong Kong's DNA. So we always find ways to solve problems. We always find ways to monitor the trends and see the challenges. I mean, challenge always exists, no matter when, no matter where. But the key thing is how we solve the problems with creativity. If you see the history of Hong Kong, and if you see how Hong Kong has turned from a small village into a today it's a real financial center and international trade hub and one of the richest cities in the world, you see Hong Kong's reputation is all about efficiency and speed, and if you like to call it being transactional. As I said, it's a place that you can always find a way to make things happen. Yeah, this is Hong Kong.
Thank you, Kiki. Yes, that can-do spirit, right? Yes. I guess a lot that we grew up with is still there for sure. And thank you for the encouraging, words there. I think we're busy as ever, as you know. So that's definitely true. And Minh, it may be different for you since it feels like the internet boom days again from your side. So your challenges may be actually related to hypergrowth in this environment. How are you guys navigating this?
Yeah, so first of all, definitely our industry, whether or not you consider that to be Metaverse or Web3, has been, of course, experiencing tremendous growth. And to a certain extent, we have to thank Mark Zuckerberg for drawing even more attention to the space last year. But of course, Web3 has had tremendous growth over the past 2 years anyways, and we're really only just getting started. And at this point, the possibilities that have been opened up by NFTs and the deepening of the blockchain ecosystem are incredibly exciting. And so having said that, of course, COVID has been tough all around. Animoca has been a global company from almost day one, and we have subsidiaries in places as far as Argentina and the Czech Republic, as well as over 150 portfolio companies globally. So not being able to meet those people in person and build those relationships has definitely been challenging. And so despite the growth in the Metaverse, I think there's still a lot of importance around face-to-face in business, especially in a firm like ours that does so much deal making. I think the other thing that's been challenging is, of course, getting talent into Hong Kong. There's definitely some talent that's considering leaving the city. And so we're not yet there seeing that talent being replaced via the partnerships that we're building in the Greater Bay Area. And of course, for fast-growing businesses like ours, talent is key to our success. So we're considering all strategies right now for growth. And we're, of course, doing our best to cope by utilizing the latest in technology to create experiences for both employees and partners. My team will be doing a Metaverse offsite soon, so that should be fun.
That would be interesting. I think your travel expense guys would be very happy on that one. But anyways, okay. Tech ventures, deep dive. Let's shift gears a little bit towards the space. Kiki, at the science park, we have a venture developing, other technologies and applications, a whole range, what we like to refer to as deep tech. Can you share some stories on what's going on at the science park with the ventures here?
Oh yeah, happy to. Hong Kong Science Park's startup community is probably one of the largest ecosystems in the region. And as I said, we have hundreds of startups in the program today. And if including the alumni and the startups in our network, I'm talking about thousands of startups here. We cover a wide range of variety in terms of technology areas. You can find AI and big data companies to like semiconductors companies and life sciences and advanced materials. Like basically all the innovation areas you can find here in Hong Kong Science Park. So there are quite a few success stories recently. I believe many people have also seen the news about a few new unicorns growing out of Hong Kong startup community. Like SmartMore is one of the hottest venture capital investment targets in town and probably also in the world, I would say. It's an AI company, and it only took the company 18 months to grow from zero to unicorn, which is amazing speed. It's from CUHK. I believe that the team is also with a Chinese background. Co-founders are Chinese nationals, and they have been in Hong Kong for decades doing research here. The team was led by a star professor, Mr. Jia Jiaya. So the company has the top AI team in the world, and it has definitely flourished in the huge market in China. Yeah, so its growth trajectory is kind of similar to that of SenseTime, the highest valued AI company in the world, which is also a startup from our campus. Yeah, and it just went public at the main board with Hong Kong Exchange. Yeah. So AI is definitely one of the strongest areas in Hong Kong because of the strong talent base here. And another area I would name is Bmt Biomedical Technologies. It's becoming really a big deal here in town. And we have seen the number of BMT companies in our community growing more than 5 times over the 5 years. Yeah, so it's truly amazing. Now we have, I believe, around 150 biomedical technology companies on our single campus out of Shatian. And I believe that if you look at the whole BMT scene in Hong Kong, it's much bigger than that. Yeah. So there's another interesting company in silico medicine, which is also a new unicorn. I believe they just became unicorn in their last financing round a few months ago. And this company is very interesting. It's an AI company, so it uses AI technology, but with a pharmaceutical application. So it's really a combination of BMT and AI. And we believe that we will see more and more interesting companies like this coming out of the community in Hong Kong. Yeah. And actually, speaking of Canadian teams, I would tell you that there's a large Canadian community in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong Science Park, we see a lot of startups founded by Canadian teams here. Yeah, one example is a smart lighting company, Velta. It was founded by a Canadian team in Hong Kong a few years ago. I think this the Hong Kong as the international city works out quite well for this company. I know that one of the co-founders split his time between Toronto and Hong Kong, and then he is driving aggressively their international BD in Canada, in the US, and also in APAC region. And the company also made good use of the factories in Guangdong province to do all the prototyping and production. Yeah, and within the first few years, it has secured quite a few big names in real estate and hospitality segments, both in China and in Hong Kong. So it's a great example that you can see how Hong Kong, as a truly international city, can enable entrepreneurs to put together pieces from places and to leverage on opportunities in mainland China, in Hong Kong, and the other countries to play their game well in the global scene.
Great. Thank you, Kiki. You talked about really, I like to summarize Hong Kong being that launch pad, right? That
Yes.
especially when Canadian companies look at, not just Hong Kong, but, a much bigger region, especially with the GBA. And that's probably lead to my next question where, you saw in the video, we're talking about GBA for a while now, but, we are seeing more traction in this space. Can you elaborate more on that specific aspect of GBA, what Science Park's doing?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yes, GBA, yes, it's a good one. So just for the audience information, because I'm not sure if everyone here knows this term well. So GBA is Greater Bay Area. It's actually consists of 11 cities, 9 cities in Guangdong province in mainland China, plus Hong Kong and Macau. So it's a region of 11 cities only, but it's already a very large economy. I'm talking about the GDP even higher than the GDP of entire Canada. Yeah. So GBA is by itself is a large economy. And for Hong Kong, because Hong Kong is part of the GBA, so we have the ability to grant our startups the access to all the resources in the region, from manufacturing base to talents to capital, and everything, facilities, etc. So I think this is a huge opportunity, not just for startups in Hong Kong today, but also for startups that is looking for a large market to expand into. Yeah, so Hong Kong is part of GBA, and we definitely want to leverage on that opportunity to benefit our startups. So we'll continue to provide supports to facilitate our startups activities in GBA region. Actually, we're setting up a new campus in Shenzhen, and right at this moment, I believe it will be ready in this fall. And also, we will soon have other presences in other GBA cities, such as Guangzhou and Dongguan. With the full rollout of our GBA operations, we're confident that we will be able to better support the startups to leverage on this opportunity and grow faster into the region.
That's excellent, Kiki. Actually, something that maybe share a little bit with the crowd. I mean, we as HKSTP, we participated in Collision in Toronto in 2019, and with our friends at Invest Hong Kong. And I can tell you, a lot of the inquiries came through that we at that time in Toronto was about this China ability to penetrate into the China's presence, but from Hong Kong. So it's great to see this starting to take hold with kind of direct programs and opportunities that with resources really directly applying to this endeavor. So keep on the lookout for more of this, and we're here to really make that happen. Let's now talk from I guess I led to Chris's side a little bit. I talked about Collision, and that was 2019. But on your front, how are you seeing the demand side now in Canada?
It's abated a little bit, honestly speaking, with the events of the last several years in Canada. But there have been some definite trends in terms of where the demand is coming from, where the interest is coming from. First and foremost, and I think we've all mentioned this in the past, it's funding in the financial markets of Hong Kong. It's too big to ignore, and most Canadian companies realize that it's actually, to some degree, it's actually easier to get funding in Hong Kong than it is in Canada. And there's some reality in that statement. Other elements of high interest are obviously the tax rates. The tax rates in Hong Kong are extremely impressive, especially compared to Canadian income and corporate tax rates. IP protection. Many Canadian companies, when they're entering Asia, feel like they're entering the Wild West, where basically they feel that they have no IP protection. And they're pleased to know that Hong Kong does have the basic law, the common law, the corporate law that is very similar to Canadian corporate law and holds sway over other jurisdictions of Asia. It's something that they don't have to worry about when they set up in Hong Kong. And if nothing else, that actually ends up being the linchpin. We get interest from a number of private equity and venture capital companies here in Canada. The opening question is, so what's the tax rate like? But then it quickly moves over into, what's the benefit of being in Hong Kong? Are we able to crack into the mainland Chinese markets? And I'm pleased to often mention that there are financial vehicles that are available for companies that are set up in Hong Kong, Wealth Connect being one of the first ones. Whereas if you're a Hong Kong resident, you can actually invest in mainland Chinese financial vehicles, and you can invest in mainland Chinese, namely Shenzhen startups, if you are a private equity VC in Hong Kong, and they're quite encouraged to hear something like that. Now, just in terms of some case studies, I can't talk about all of them. Some of them don't want to be named, but some of them are, we're particularly proud of. And Intact Financial, the big Canadian insurance company, who, started, I think they're still a resident of HKSTP, chose Hong Kong as their launchpad for Asia, not because they wanted to sell insurance policies, because they don't. They actually chose Hong Kong because of the access to mainland Chinese data scientists. And that's something that is unique to Hong Kong, and they grew from a presence of about 2 people. They're now up to about 30 people over a period of about a year and a half. We've also had a company from Montreal that specializes in wealth tech, blockchain based, called GDA Capital, and they set up in Hong Kong on their own, and then discovered us, discovered InvestHK, sort of as an aside, and we've been helping build them out. There's also another company called AIS from Vancouver. They are a blockchain accounting based company. They were actually discovered by HKSTP and Accenture's accelerator program for innovation. And again, InvestHK did outreach to them and are helping them build out their operations. We helped a cybersecurity firm on the RegTech side called IronCap. They actually partnered with InvestHK and HKTDC to identify distribution partners in Asia for Japan, for mainland China, for Hong Kong, through management consultancies. And we certainly enjoy counting them as one of our better case studies. Recently, we've been getting a lot of inquiries for RegTech, namely in AML, anti-money laundering. And there's a reason for that. First off, there's a policy in place that stipulates that financial services companies in Hong Kong have to modernize, have to get their compliance methodology up to date. And putting it bluntly, half of them are not. And so the opportunity for RegTech companies, and that's a strength of Canada, is RegTech companies. The opportunity for RegTech companies in Hong Kong is immense, and they're slowly waking up to this fact, and we're happily introducing them to the Hong Kong ecosystem.
That's great, Chris. Lots of stories. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that. In fact, Intact, yes, they're very much at the Science Park, in the same building as we are, and and Antoine and team are great contributors to CanCham's Innovation Committee as well. So definitely very active participation and a real good Canadian footprint in our ecosystem. So thank you. All right, let's shift over to the metaverse. Let's go into all what that's about. Now, I like to maybe give a little bit of a primer in this space because we have a broad mainstream audience. The term Web3 metaverse has been thrown around, but maybe let me seed a little bit, and just by saying that we're seeing really an evolution in the internet technology or internet space, right? What we're seeing, what was called Web 1 was basically early 90s going into the 90s with really ability to just consume or read only information, right? Connecting information and data through a network of computers and serving it up on the World Wide Web. As bandwidth and performance technology, computer performance improved, we saw Web 2, right? What that really means is about social media. and the ability to the consumers like us to participate in content creation and generation, et cetera. So Facebook, YouTube videos, stuff like that, that's very much about Web 2. With that though, the identity or the the participation is very much within these big corporate systems, right? Your ID, your login, and your identity is very much within a Facebook ID or Google ID. In Web3, with encryption technology and blockchain, we're now seeing the decoupling of that, and very much is now about the ability for individuals to have ownership rights or digital assets in this space. So that's all we talk about. That's all I can really talk about at this time. I did the easy part, but now let's move it over to Minh to give you what this space is happening with a very, very leading situation with Animoca. Minh?
Great, thanks, Francis. So I think it's helpful if I give a primer as to like what Animoca kind of does as a day-to-day business, right? So as I mentioned before, Animoca Brands is really a mission-driven company, and generally I think that this is rare, especially in Asian companies. But Yat, as a founder, is really driven by the mission. And this is what attracted me to the company. And so our mission is to drive the development of digital property rights and allow global citizens to build wealth via digital equity. And so what this means in real life is that people in Bangladesh or sub-Saharan Africa can build wealth by participating in the online economy. And they will also be able to find ways to store that wealth online, provided they're able to access the internet. And so what we're doing to kind of go about that mission is build the metaverse. And we believe that the metaverse is going to be so significant that no one company can dominate it. We'll just be one of the players. But right now, we're still very, very early. So it's incumbent on us to really support the growth of the ecosystem. And so we're really building the metaverse in 3 different ways, which form the basis of our business. So the first way we do that, and most relevant to this conversation, is via our ventures business, which is really what we're talking about in terms of how do we grow the ecosystem. And that's the one actually with obviously the smallest headcount, because of course, by its nature, investing is light on people. But our ventures team is really looking to seed the entrepreneurs of the metaverse, looking to build the foundational infrastructure that's going to underpin the next phase of the internet. The second way we do this is via our core gaming business. I think that's getting some momentum and building some reputation. And what we're doing there is, our thesis is that gamers are the natural initial inhabitants for the metaverse. They already understand digital worlds. They already understand digital universes and digital assets. And so that's going to be a very easy transition for gamers to participate in the metaverse. So now the largest of those games that we run is called the Sandbox, which is one of the most recognizable metaverse communities. But we have a bunch of other great products coming out, including Phantom Galaxies, which is a Space Odyssey product, which I really highly recommend our audience checking out. And the third way we are looking to build the metaverse is through our brands and partnerships business, which we're already kind of grown quite quickly in the past year. And we're looking to onboard basically new inhabitants of the metaverse via communities where they already exist. So for example, if we bring Manchester City into the metaverse, we will be looking to bring them and some of their fans along with us into the new internet. And so those 3 pillars have a lot of synergistic needs that are inherent to being part of the Web3 ecosystem. And so, for example, of course, many of our brands want to coexist in some of the metaverses that we're building, and many of our venture portfolio companies would like to partner with some of the brands that we're already working with, etc.
Wow, exciting indeed. And thanks for sharing that. I want to maybe take a step back into the Hong Kong scene of this as well, because it turns out Hong Kong does have quite a history in this. In fact, there's a book called Block Kong, which I'll show here. I don't know if you can see it, it's probably not coming out. That is quite interesting because it documents some of what now who would be referred as titans of the Web3 space, having a footprint in Hong Kong. FTX, Crypto.com, had some part of a genesis. Of course, your chairman Yatsu of Animoca, really making trailblazing the way with the Hong Kong environment. Can you talk about a little bit of that? What made these things happen with the attributes of what Hong Kong can provide?
Yeah, so I do think Hong Kong, and people probably underestimate how significant this was, but Hong Kong in 2016 and 2017 had absolutely the perfect setup for a number of Web3 powerhouses to set up shop here. and had clearly been very successful in attracting kind of major talent into the ecosystem. And so first and foremost, Hong Kong had and still has a relatively open and transparent legal system that allows entrepreneurs the room to innovate. And this is obviously a base need for any startup ecosystem to thrive. But I think when it came to blockchain in particular, secondly, obviously there's a clear use case for financial services in blockchain. And obviously Hong Kong has a very robust financial ecosystem and capital available for deployment. And so that infrastructure setup allowed for companies like FTX and Crypto.com to start in Hong Kong and thrive. And I think people would underestimate how many major Web3 companies have started or have their genesis in Hong Kong. The Cardano blockchain was also started in Hong Kong, etc. So I think the biggest challenge that most people right now in kind of both the government and the regulators have in Hong Kong is being really able to wrap their heads around the potential for innovation in Web3. I think we would consider ourselves to be close to the forefront of the industry, and we're still learning new things every day. So I can understand how it's challenging for people not inside that ecosystem. So what I would say to anybody who's thinking about the future of Web3 and in order to help kind of Hong Kong and obviously Canada develop their startup ecosystems is to really understand that it's the next phase of the internet. We started, as Francis, you mentioned, with kind of desktop internet in the browser, and then we moved to mobile and all of the innovation that brought. And now blockchain is ushering in a whole new era of innovation. So for example, we're talking to some major Hollywood players to think about how they can integrate NFT and crypto with their TV shows. So instead of having basic online voting mechanisms, you can actually use crypto to have a stake in the success of the show itself. And this fundamentally changes the paradigm of what it means to be a fan and what it means to be a member of a community. And so I'm 100% certain that in 10 to 15 years time, everyone in this audience will have crypto and NFTs. It will be as ubiquitous as mobile phones and apps today. And not having crypto will be like having a mobile phone with having no apps, right? So it's a huge paradigm shift. And I think we're only just starting to wake up to the possibilities.
Wow. Head spinning stuff, to say the least. Okay. We are also seeing some big brands coming to space, right? Like HSBC, for example, made some news by buying some land in the Sandbox a few weeks ago. Ventures in this area from Hong Kong or Canada, can you share some advice? What should they be focused on? What would you tell them to look out towards for them to succeed?
Yeah, I think thinking from a brand or a traditional company perspective is probably quite different from thinking from a startup perspective, right? The traditional companies have existing businesses to manage, and thus their entrance into the metaverse really needs to be well thought out. They need to probably take some baby steps. And I think engaging with a company like Animoca or Sandbox is important, and we'll elaborate on that in a moment. From a startup perspective, I think you could take a lot more risks. I think ultimately for all founders, you need to ask yourself, like, are you doing this mainly to kind of make money and have financial success, or are you doing it to achieve a mission? And I think this really helps in determining priorities, both short and long term. And there are things that you can do, particularly in blockchain, to optimize for short-term kind of financial goals, which may be in contradiction of long-term building. I think this is very important in Web3, where building community engagement long-term is really, really important. And so when it comes to larger companies, traditional companies that are looking to explore Web3, what we would suggest is, at one point in the, in kind of, let's say 2000, everyone had questions about the internet. And then, then everyone realized you have to have a website. It's not an option. And then after that, everyone realized you have to have an internet strategy. And so what I would say right now is that everyone is going to need a Web3 strategy. And so to understand this in a slightly deeper level, we're talking to multiple major public transportation providers. And one of the things that I would say to them is that, like, I only go on their website when there's a problem, right? If there's a breakdown somewhere in the system, then I go and check out kind of the transportation website. And I go to check out the issue. But what the metaverse will provide to you in the long term is the ability to connect with your customers and your users in a much deeper way, and allow them to interact with your brand in a much more deeper way that allows you to really showcase your values. And so hopefully that triggers some thinking for everyone.
Wow, excellent. Thank you very much for that. Lots to think about for sure. Now we're getting through our content quite well. We want to get into Q&A soon, but maybe one further question, since it's an exciting space. without revealing any secrets, what should we be on the lookout for in the next 6 to 12 months in your portfolio?
Yeah, let's play a quick video from Animoca Brands just to have a quick sneak peek of what we have in store. And I want to caveat that this is a video of our core gaming business, so it's really kind of showcasing our own products. But there are lots in our ecosystem that's not showcased here. So maybe we can play that video, Francis.
Sure, let's do that. Great, thank you, Minh. Play a game, win some cash. Can't go wrong with that. Yeah.
So I think the thing for people to understand here is that the way we think about these games is really to explore the possibilities and the boundaries of the metaverse, right? And so this started with probably Fortnite, and you guys have seen like Fortnite had 10 million people in a metaverse concert, right? And now with the new kind of developments in blockchain and the ecosystem, you can imagine ways that companies and celebrities can interact with their fans never before, right? So you see our game Untitled Galaxies, which I said is a space odyssey. Now if you're Snoop Dogg, you can engage with your fans and go on a planet raid with your fans side by side, right? And that's a different way to interact with your fans as compared to kind of in the real life, right? And so I think what we're trying to say is that the metaverse is opening up huge possibilities driven by the blockchain and NFTs that is really going to change the game. So I would definitely say to the audience, look at Phantom Galaxies. That's a key product. As a teenager in the 90s, I was definitely really into kind of robots and Gundam, and this game is going to be the best blockchain game, period. And so it's going to be a true AAA game that enhances so many possibilities. So if you're a brand, and you want to be kind of forward thinking, definitely you could have a Phantom Galaxies planet. Maybe we'll see a Hong Kong Science Park Phantom Galaxies planet where you can have a Hong Kong Science Park experience whilst flying around in a mecha robot. And I want to emphasize the reason why Web3 and blockchain matters is because you, as the Science Park, you own that experience. You actually own that experience. You own the NFTs in that experience. We, as the developer of the game, we provide the game engine, but the owner of the NFTs really has the control of their own experience. I think that's fundamentally where Web3 is headed.
Wow. Okay, you laying out some strategic plans for us, I think. But no, it's very interesting because with the sandbox, there's what 166,000 or so plots of land, as I understand. But with PG Phantom Galaxies, you're now going to planetary galaxy level of property rights, so or ability to mechanize that or economize that. So very exciting indeed. So thanks for that. Well, let's jump into. I think we gone through quite a bit of content, really good talk about the macro picture and the science park and then metaverse. I think we had a few questions come in. If I can take a look at that. Okay, question for Minh. I think this one is, how should Hong Kong or Canadian companies work with Animoca? What would you be interested in seeing?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think it really depends on who you are. So if you're a Web3 startup with an innovative idea, please come and contact us. We have multiple accelerator programs supporting different parts of the ecosystem, including blockchain, digital entertainment, and arts and culture. If you're further along and you've got some product market fit and you're looking to raise funds, then obviously we have our ventures arm. We're a prominent investor in the space. So we're deploying capital to support the ecosystem. And with that engagement, we'll work with you in a more strategic way to help you navigate the ecosystem. And then finally, if you're a traditional company that's looking to kind of really explore Web3 and you'd like to have a chat, just please feel free to reach out. We're always looking for strategic collaboration. And Web3 can be definitely confusing at first, and thinking through the implications requires quite a deep experience in the space. For myself, I've been in blockchain for 5 years, and every day still learning new things. And so, what I would say is, if you're a traditional company and you just want to understand, how to think about Web3 strategy, just feel free to reach out to us.
Great, thanks, Minh. Okay, we have a question for Kiki at the Science Park. What does it take to enter the startup programs at Hong Kong Science Park?
Oh, okay. For anyone who is interested in the startup program at Hong Kong Science Park, please go check out our website, hkstp.org. You will find a lot of information there. Because as I just mentioned, we have a full spectrum of startup support programs from very early stage, like the ideation stage, all the way down to growth and expansion stage. So no matter which stage you're in, I believe that we have something to offer. Just go check out the website and find the most suitable program. You shall find the admission criteria and application details all on the website. It's all online now, so we can go through all the whole admission process all online, including a virtual interview. So you don't need to come to Hong Kong to apply and to get in. And also, please come to us at the networking session, and we can provide more details.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kiki. Yeah, but let me add further. I'd like to talk about a very good resource that we have for people who are kind of pre-engaged with the Science Park, and that's our meetups. It's our meetups group at meetups at Hong Kong Science Park. And really a very engaging group, 2,000 members. We are probably one of the more active ones around the world, with 3 to 5 meetups to connect and talk about entrepreneurial tech topics every week. Part of that is what we talked about the open day. We have an open day every third Friday of the month. And with that open day, we offer one-to-one consultations with any ventures that are interested in our programs. So I think that's a good way to get a preview, talk about your situation, get some advice from us, and then look at having a really good application as you find opportunity with this ecosystem. So check out meetups at Hong Kong Science Park. Okay, perfect. Okay, we have a question for Chris. In terms of types of companies seeking global expansion, what sectors are they falling under?
Well, the last couple of years have sort of reshaped the response to this. No secret, it's mostly fintech, because Canada it does outstanding in that regard. And Canada has a tendency of producing regtech, wealth tech, and insurtech companies. We get a number of private equity venture capital firms. They're interested in Hong Kong for the reasons I've stated before. But beyond those two, I guess, more obvious choices, we do tend to get some inquiries from other sectors, other subsectors, like, for example, food tech. We've seen a pickup in food tech companies that are interested in doing R&D in Hong Kong. Lots and lots of AI companies are interested in Hong Kong. And AI, as you know, is a catch-all phrase for a wide spectrum of a lot of different companies. And these AI companies fall under like fintech, life sciences, property tech, logistics, all over. And we do take part in a number of AI forums here in Canada locally. And so they do find Hong Kong very interesting. But there's a number of specialty niche subsectors that Canada tends to produce.
Right. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Thanks for that, Chris. Wow, thank you, everybody. It's been a fantastic conversation with you today. Learned a lot. I think we definitely have a good factual look at the Hong Kong environment, and still talk about really good opportunities that it may serve. For the attendees, please connect with our panel speakers with their LinkedIn profiles, okay? And we will see you at the networking session. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.